Today's guest is a supporting sponsor of Liberty in Finance. Welcome back to Liberty in Finance. We're delighted to have a returning guest. David Rhodes is the chairman of Empress Royalties, and he joins us again here on Liberty in Finance from the Rules Symposium on Natural Resource Investing in Boca Raton, Florida. David, thanks for coming back on Liberty in Finance.
Pleasure.
It's been 1 year since we had you on at the last conference, and since then, Empress has continued to impress with financial performance. And it's remarkable because Rick Rule is a frequent visitor with our viewers and subscribers. He talks to us on a monthly basis about the different segments that people really need to consider, the important differences between when investing in the natural resources space, all the way from exploratory companies to developers to operators. But royalty and streaming is a whole nother ball of wax. As he has explained to our viewers, it's financial support for those who are developing and operating natural resource development and mining, but without taking on necessarily the same exposure to, for example, inflationary pressures and mine risk, that sort of thing, but getting a very lucrative profit stream from it for the benefit of shareholders. Can you talk to us about what differentiates Empress as a royalty company that shareholders should be aware of so that they can decide if take a closer look?
Yeah, sure. No, thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to talk with you once again. So Empress is a pure gold and silver royalty and streaming company. So all we invest in is gold and silver companies. We are creation company. So we actually negotiate with the mining companies directly to put in place a stream or a royalty. And as you probably recall, on a stream basis, you get, by investing money in the company, you get a percentage of that gold and silver from the company. If it's a royalty, then you get a percentage in dollar terms. So not physical metal, you get a dollar number back from the company. So the difference between the two. We do both, depending on the optimum structure for the company and the jurisdiction we're in. So purely, our main focus, and this is actually today is our fourth birthday. So 3.5 years listed, fourth birthday today. And we have four main assets that are driving our business at the moment. And they're all producing assets now. When we started, there were two development assets. Now they're all producing. So we're in that lovely phase of cash flow generation. We doubled our revenue compared to last year, and we're obviously looking to double it again this year as we're in our growth phase of harvesting those investments in those gold and silver companies.
I mentioned in introducing you about the reduced exposure to the impacts of inflation that royalty and streaming companies enjoy relative to producers. Inflation is a big deal right now across the globe, and especially in the U.S., but most people are feeling the direct effects of that on their ordinary lives, and operators of mines are no different in that they have many reasons why inflation can directly impact their profit margins. Can you talk to us about how it is that mining companies are more directly impacted by inflation, whereas the royalty and streaming companies that are benefiting from the offtake of those mining companies are less affected by inflation?
Yes, certainly. So like most companies around the world, the costs of doing business, for example, staff costs, costs of materials, all those kind of costs, which is the operating cost of a gold mining company, all of those costs have gone up. On the positive side, for gold and silver companies, obviously gold has gone up substantially and the silver's gone up by a third. So their margins aren't as tight as if the metal prices hadn't moved up. So they've still got good margins. But for royalties and streaming companies, if it's a stream, we're actually only paying 20% of spot. So we're making 80% premium. And for most royalty and streaming companies, the real cost of our business is our staff costs. And that's all we have. So obviously we have staff costs, we've got inflation on top of that. But when your margin's 80%, so only paying 20% of spot for the gold and silver, that's a huge margin. So very rarely and not significantly affected by inflation. Unlike a mining company that is really doing all the hard work, they're mining it, they're actually paying all those operating costs on that basis. So from a royalty and streaming perspective, very limited inflation. That's really, the inflation is at the mining company level, not at the royalty and streaming company level.
Now, I know this is a forward-facing question, so I'm not going to hold you to the to the follow-through on the answer. But theoretically, if people are expecting and anticipating that there may be a significant bull market ahead, continuing for gold and silver in nominal terms, outpacing today's metals prices by perhaps multiples, how does that play into the profitability model of directly of a mining company versus, say, a royalty and streaming company?
So probably history, I think, is probably the best way to look at this. So if you look at the performance of gold and silver mining companies, actually one of the ETFs, then royalty and streaming companies are outperformed in all cases over the last 15 years, gold, ETF, and also the mining index. So in reality, just by the very nature of the fact that a royalty and streaming company has that very low cost base, and it's just an investment type vehicle, they've outperformed it. So if you look historically, the royalty and streaming companies have outperformed gold and also the gold mining index.
I'd like to talk about Empress in particular now among royalty and streaming companies. Rick Rule often tells our viewers when he visits us on approximately a monthly basis that we need to be contrarians like him and to look for value where it has not yet been fully appreciated and recognized by the market. So in order to get investment gains, what is it that you expect are the reasons that Rick was particularly drawn to bringing Empress as an invited exhibitor here at his Rule conference? Because it's by invitation only, and it's companies only that he has done his vetting and due diligence on. So what do you believe attracted him and continues to attract him to Empress particularly?
Well, tough to talk for Rick because obviously he's very good at talking himself. But if I had to put myself in his shoes, and we have obviously discussed this, I think first it's the people. So Empress is a very strong team of talented individuals who are experienced in the marketplace. They've worked in businesses and in finance businesses before. So good, structured, knowledgeable, experienced team. They're able to be good harbiters and good shepherds, I call it that, really, of the investments. And obviously the company's money as it invests in golden royalty streams to generate a return. So good structured finances, which I think is important. Secondly, as I said, we're only 4 years old, so very new. So we're getting our name out in the marketplace. There's an opportunity there of seeing, as we talk to investors, come to conferences like this, get our name around, and improvement in our branding, improvement of our knowledge of our stock. Additionally, where we are in this cycle. So we are now, as I said, harvesting. So all our investments are now producing. Two of them are close to being fully ramped up as well. So we're really on that hockey stick, as it's called in the investment world, especially North American world, of really having substantial returns coming in. And with our cash flow we're going to be generating, we can obviously reinvest that and diversify and grow our portfolio, which is the key thing. As you say, we only have 4 assets at the moment. We need to diversify and grow that portfolio. We can do that 2 ways. Obviously, reinvesting the cash as it comes in. That's our businesses are generating. Secondly, we've also got a debt facility of $20 million that we can reinvest. So very much now on the harvesting and growth phase to diversify the portfolio. And that should, as we diversify, give us even more revenue, grow the business more, and then obviously, as I think Rick, and we've also got US Global, Spot Asset Management, Stephen Gleason, Terra Capital, my own company, Endeavor Financial as investors, really reap the rewards of that hard work as we generate more revenue and build the business larger and larger.
So that's where it naturally leads to, it sounds like you've got some big name major stakeholders in your business. And what I know that there are restrictions on what you can say as a chairman of a company in terms of forward-facing statements, but the types of goals that you're looking towards in the next year that you would like to achieve, if they are achievable, that you're specifically working on.
Well, you're right to say there's nothing is public at this stage, but we've got a pipeline of over $50 million of deals we're looking at. And because we're creating new ones, we undertake full due diligence. So technical, legal, the full due diligence on looking at a mining opportunity, a mining company, what it may return for us as a business. So we've got plenty of transactions. We're fairly select in the sense that it has to be something which fits nicely in our portfolio, but also provides us the return as well. So whilst 50 million sounds a reasonable pipeline, can't guarantee that they'll all obviously pass our testing in sense of due diligence. But yeah, very strong pipeline. It's a great market to be in. in our perspective, because we look for the smaller, the sub $25 million investments. And they're, as we set up the company because of the uniqueness and the opportunities, and we still got those opportunities in that space. A lot of the larger royalty and streaming companies, they're looking for $100 million plus ticket size investments. So being on smaller size, there's minimal competition. That gives us a great advantage.
And as we look at the existing price of gold, for example, having reached and surpassed its previous all-time highs, which we used to be in the just above 2,000, now we're above 2,400 as an all-time high in the US dollar terms. How necessary for Empress's stellar success to continue is it for the gold price to continue an upward march, versus how successful would you characterize Empress's investors will observe the company being if prices remain in a horizontal trading range for some period of time?
Yeah, so our kind of forecasts, and on our website, in our presentation we have some 5-year looking kind of forecasts. And we're using $19.50 and $25 silver, I believe, in some of our forecasts. So well below where spots are for both those metals. And we're looking at well above $10 million a year in cash flow coming from our investments. That's existing investments, no more investments. So we're really looking at least $60 million of money coming in over the next 5 years. And as I say, we can reinvest that. We can obviously got our debt facility we can use to put more investments on. And that's really versus a very low market cap of, $25 million US market cap. So, we believe we're very much at that tipping point.
Could you talk to us just before we wrap on the macro environment of the marketplace, how the market has been treating royalty and streaming companies over the past decade, and specifically over the past year, versus how has Empress Royalties fared among the flock of royalty and streaming companies in the marketplace, and what is that overall tenor and tone of the marketplace right now?
Yeah, so I think the royalty and streaming companies have fared relatively well over last year compared to some of the mining stocks. Obviously, you mentioned inflation and the effect on their operating costs, their margins being squeezed. And if you look at some of the major mining companies or gold companies, you'd really expect their share price to have tripled and gone up significantly. But the inflation cost base has reduced their profitability relatively. So we've not seen the market really reward them for where they should be. And hopefully it will do. And the gold price is staying nice and steady now. They're making nice profits. They're paying dividends. So hopefully the market will reflect that. But we're not seeing it at the moment. But royalty and streaming companies in Empress is up 18% in a year. But we're still, well below 50% of NAV. We're still lowly rated compared to the other royalty and streaming companies in the business. So we think it's an opportune time to invest. Obviously, first look at us, talk to us. We're all available to be contacted and discuss further about our business. We think this is an ideal opportunity to get on board with our business, just as a gold and silver business at these even lower prices. We're looking at $19.50 and $25, as I said, and we're way above that. So we're getting a big boost for metal prices. And we're at the conference here. We're seeing a lot of positives about gold and silver. People are talking about well over $3,000 for gold, and silver doing the same thing, moving up around $35 silver. And that's really reflecting the environment we're in, with the Fed probably reducing rates and things moving obviously in the favor of gold as a store of wealth.
So if I'm recapping what I just heard, your company is still currently less than half of its net asset value in terms of share price.
Correct. And
not equally valued to your peer group among other royalty companies. And should that be reflected, then people would enjoy a multiplicative benefit there. So folks, that Rick Rule, as always, scrutinizes the companies before he invites them to this conference, so they're worthy of your serious consideration. You invited people to reach out and talk to you. How specifically should they reach out to Empress Royalties if they want to find out more?
So website, there's a contact page there, and you can get hold of Alexandra Widger-Sharon, CEO, and also Natasha. There's the IR person. So please reach out to either of them. Or obviously respond to this if they can, and we can obviously then connect, via Liberty and Finance.
So folks, we'll put in the description of this video the exact link to the corporate website, the information on the stock, and the phone number for the corporation, which you can also find on their corporate website. And take a sharp look. Rick already has, and he's a leader for us. So we're trying to follow in his wise footsteps. And thank you for bringing us up to date on the progress that's been made in the past year since we spoke by Empress Royalties.
Pleasure. Thanks for your time.